So I think it's probably best because the stuff is, because squash and cucumbers don't really like, and melons, don't really like to be transplanted a lot. You know, we try to limit the root disturbance on them. And you know, you might not even notice that they've been compromised, but then when they get out in the field, oh, you might just get like 1 or 2 melons rather than, you know, the ability maybe to get 6 melons out of it, right?
We don't have a control group, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a control group, you'd never know. But quite often they're compromised in ways that aren't totally obvious. You could blame a million other factors. But we know for a fact that they don't really like transplanting, so we're trying to be as careful, as gentle and as we can, and to not transplant them more than we have to. So a lot of things, the rule of thumb when you transplant is you shouldn't go more than 2 inches bigger than what they're transplanted from. And that's kind of your rule of thumb, but just like any good rule, it is meant to be broken sometimes. And so because they would grow out, like any of the melons or squash or cucumbers would grow out of these very quickly, it would demand an extra transplanting, which means an additional root disturbance. So we're trying to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them right into a bigger pot. And yes, before they're sold, they might even grow out of this, but at least it won't be growing out of this, then growing out of this, then growing out of another one, right? So one person's job could be to fill these pots. And let's see how many we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 18, maybe do 20 pots. The other job, now this is where things get messed up as far as labeling. Because you look at this and you go, okay, this says melons, how far does that go? And someone takes the tag out to copy it, and then you can't remember where where it begins and where it ends. So there's 3 tags, I think, that need to be made. I can't tell at the end here. Does anybody remember when they seeded these, what tag ends where? And because this is not obvious to me.
No, I don't get it either.
Right?
I think Joe was the master of
No.
knowing which way.
What did I do?
No.
Well, you had a way of knowing which way.
Do you know?
Unless
So,
you look
okay,
at
to
it in
me,
detail.
okay, to me,
I don't
this
think I planted these.
this looks like it's melon up to here
I think it was
in this half.
Good.
Yeah.
But I'm, and yeah, and then zucchini, 8 ball,
Oh,
kind
okay.
of takes over as far as maybe here. But then there's melon something and zucchini something. So is this row melon something and that row zucchini something? And if that's true, what's this?
That was black beauty. I don't
So
know.
those are all the black beauties? Okay, so we're gonna guess at this, and this is where, you know, sometimes my suggestion would be if there's only a few of a kind and a few of another kind, to just put a tag in every cell. You know, the tags, you can always cross them off, use them again. Another thing, does anyone know if there's a place that custom does blinds here, Venetian blinds?
I think it is also the
Great idea. Great idea.
If you go up to the place that sells and they custom cut blinds, what they do is they get the blinds in really big pieces and then they custom cut them to fit people's windows. And they have these little scraps, hundreds of them, thousands of them, that they are happy to have you take away. So if you're aware of that and you think of where they do it and you feel like stopping by and getting it, and I'll do the same when I go into Nanaimo tomorrow, Because, you know, it adds up. All this kind of stuff adds up. Every time you have to buy something, it adds up. You can get it. You know, tell them the program you're in, that you're doing a bunch of plants, and then see if they're willing to give you the stuff.
No, I'm
that they
doing
can
you.
Throw away anyway, and have to pay to throw away by weight. So, okay, so we're gonna start with these guys. And I guess we haven't been class. So, is there any transplanting tools here? I've got my knives on burn. I think we'll have to use these.
I've got, probably a fork or something from mine.
Fork would work, a plastic knife. So what we're gonna wanna do is, we're going to want to, look at the roots on those babies.
Whoa.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
God, look at that.
But that's not good though, right?
Well, we certainly need to transplant them. I would say that I wouldn't seed these in these small, this small of a thing, actually.
Wow, look at
What
those
I would
roots.
use is I would use this size for melons. Well, I like these because they're a little bit deeper.
Holy
Even to
smokes.
get some of these, but this is the size I would plant melons in right away. They're just that little bit bigger, and you can see, I mean, how those roots have already kind of overgrown it. So what you do is you want to pinch this. Like this, yeah, this is going to be hard to do without root disturbance, right? Like you might even have to use 2 of these.
Are they too thick?
Yeah, this is not going to be an easy process. And you want to pull it by the leaf. And here's a great example of how it looks wet on top, but look how dry it is underneath.
Yeah.
So, and that's caused the roots also to go a bit deeper, because you should, I mean, I'm holding it very gently and it's almost impossible to get it out pulling the roots because they've gone through the holes in the bottom. But really that's what you want to do rather than hold it by the stem, because if you pinch the stem too much, then you can kill it. And then you're going to want to make this big hole in here and just kind of gently lower it in. Ideally, and that's the reason why it'd be good to have deeper containers, ideally you don't want these roots to wind around or anything, but there's really no
There are some that are
option.
this
Would you
size.
go to the 1 gallons or?
That uses so much media,
Oh, okay.
you know, that I think you might be able to sell them in this size. You might be able to. You might have to transplant them once again. But, I mean, in using media, like these bales of ProMix are like $30 each. And so
Plus the food.
when you add, you know, how many, I've got a chart for you guys, how many like gallon pots, 6-inch pots you get from a bale, but it's not very much. You know, you're lucky to get 25, so it's like $1 something more. Well, people are barely going to buy this plant for $1 something. So if you're trying to sell it for, because what happens is at most places, what they'll do is they'll sell melon and zucchini and stuff in these packs for a couple of bucks. So people are looking at this going, oh, for $4 I can get 6, and for sure it's a little bigger, but they grow fast, and for, you know, $2 I can get this, because you're gonna have to charge $2,
Oh, that's right. Oh.
right?
I didn't know
So
what they were worth. That was my next question. I was like is this $5?
you're lucky if you could get $5 for a gallon pot of any annual vegetable. You are really lucky.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So, because people just think, oh, well, I can grow big myself. And every once in a while, yeah, you know, you might sell a few, but the average person is gonna go cheap and get the smaller ones and then just grow them on. So, yes, do a few bigger ones, don't do too many. So does anybody wanna try with this next one?
Sure.
Okay. There's some transplanting
You
sticks.
just give it a little pinch. at
Yeah,
the
pinch
bottom.
it at the bottom. I know.
That's crazy.
And quite frankly, that's another thing I don't like about these trays that catch the water, because then the roots are gonna go deeper to go into the water.
so she's
and
using
then
these,
they're
like,
hard
little
to
chopsticks?
transplant.
Yeah.
So if it's just dry.
I made them more so that
Well,
you
now
use
that
Then
they
it
the,
kind of root prunes.
I made them so that you use this end, I didn't tape the other end.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, but if you think it worked better, maybe I should put tape on the other end.
Then sometimes they're often broken, and you're like, oh, they'll be fine. Well, they'll forever be sent.
Well, and that's what I do
They-
like
they
about
might or
the
might
heat,
not. I mean,
the peat
sometimes-
ones that I've got,
depending
is
on
that
what
you
they
just
don't
pick up the
miss
whole
the
little
beans,
unit
you
and
know.
it's just
Well,
done.
sometimes you
Yeah.
have
I
to
wonder
put
what-
on
Really
the-
quick for me to pot 100 plants.
I wonder what's on the out, what's that mesh made of on the outside?
You know, some hybrids are more adaptable.
But that's where they go. You know, she said don't pinch. There we go.
And it depends on which plant it is. Some plants will never grow hybrids, and other plants will just branch.
Because
yeah, this is
talking
slow.
about earlier was, the leaves are,
I feel like I always want to coil them when I'm putting in these small
These are
spaces.
Lieber Melon's Black Beauty. No, I'm just reading it so I know what I'm pulling out.
All right, you doing the next one?
Yeah, I was just pulling this one out.
That's a different kind, right?
Yeah.
We need a whole different label and everything for that one.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Okay.
Translating it to us, like simple folks who were just trying to learn the basics. And he would get really frustrated. And Black Beauty used to be like this catastrophe.
Yeah, Melon Black Beauty. We could use a smaller pot on this one, could we not?
Connie?
Yep.
After
This
school,
one?
I would try to get as much remedial math.
Yeah, that, well, no, because that's, I'm not sure I'd even transplant those because you just barely have their first true leaves.
Right, okay.
But put them in, still put them in a 6. Well, now that you've pulled it out, you may as well put it in a 6-inch.
All right, okay.
Oh, I think there's some wet ones over there, some ready to go.
All right, perfect.
So you wanna leave the little ones, all of these, or we have?
We got some root up here still.
Did it run away?
Yeah, it didn't quite get to where you needed it to go.
Thanks, boss. I did not see it.
There.
So we should transplant these, even though the big one is really small.
Sorry, Laura, well, that's okay. Okay, yep.
So anybody want to do another melon?
It's sometimes hard to be the labeler.
Oh no! I'm like, now I'm getting confused. Okay, they're doing that, and now they're doing that. What did they do?
I put him in that black.
There's one of this one. I don't.
This one's Melon Black Beauty. Okay,
Yeah.
so right here. Really? I don't know. Okay.
What you want to do is you want to pinch the
You are doing good tracking.
Thank you.
and